إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد عباد الله, our Lord Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has mentioned inside of his noble book وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمْ مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جميعا منه إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Allah Ta'ala said, and He has subjugated for you everything within the heavens and everything within the earth. All of that is from Him, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Indeed, in that are ayat and signs for people who ponder and reflect. Ibad Allah, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has created mankind, and He has given us sound intellect and intelligence. And He has subjugated to mankind everything within the heavens and the earth by way of His qudra, by way of His power and ability and His irada. So glorified and exalted be Allah Ta'ala, who has guided the intellects of people and He has guided their thoughts. Allah Ta'ala said within His book, عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. He has taught mankind that which he did not know. Allah Ta'ala has taught us all types of things that at one time we had no knowledge of whatsoever. And by the bounty and favor of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, this human, mankind, he has invented a jihaz, a type of device that is a small device that is referred to as al-hatif al-mahmul, as the cellular phone, or it is also known as the niqal, or the mobile device. And the benefits that lie in the cell phone are many and cannot even be enumerated. And this is for the individual who uses it in a good way. For by way of that, we know that the individual is in need of a cell phone at certain points and times throughout the day. By way of that, when an individual has a cell phone in certain situations, he feels safe, he feels secure. And by way of the cell phone, ibad Allah, that which used to be far away from us is now near. We are able to call the ulama and get our questions answered. At one point in time, to connect with a scholar, you had to travel for months. You had to write a letter, and it would be months and months and months before you get a response or an answer to your question. And the answer may even be, I don't know. The answer may even be, I don't know. By way of the cell phone, ibad Allah, that yearning that a mother has to hear the voices of her children is eased in an instance. And by way of the cell phone, ibad Allah, we are able to join the ties of the womb. And we are able to communicate with our friends and our loved ones. And we are able to get emergency services for those who are in need of emergency services. By way of the cell phones, we are able to enjoy the good and prohibit the evil in an instance. And likewise, we are able to, at the push of a button, send and receive money instantly. And we are able to save ourselves a whole host of time by way of the cell phone. And other than that, from the benefits that are known to all of us. And without doubt, ibad Allah, the cell phone, it is a ni'mah from Allah Ta'ala for the one who uses it in a good way. And it is a niqmah, it is a calamity upon others who uses it in an evil way. And the cell phone, ibad Allah, there are etiquettes to its usage. There are etiquettes to its usage that must be enacted and it must be borne in mind. From the etiquette of the cell phone is that the individual who initiates the call, the caller is the one who should initiate the salams first. So the one who receives the call, he answers the phone saying hello, naam, however he may answer the phone. And the one who is calling the individual is the one who should begin with the salams first. And the salam, ibadallah, it is the signpost of the Muslim. It is the greeting of the Muslim. Imam al-Albani alayhi rahmatullah, he said this is because the one who is calling someone is similar to the individual who is knocking on somebody's door. The individual who is knocking on somebody's door, that's the one who starts with the salam first, and not the one who is inside the house. From the etiquette of the cell phone, ibadallah, is that the one who is calling, he should not overburden the one whom he is calling or she is calling with statements such as, do you know who this is? Oh, you don't know who this is. This is poor etiquette. It is poor manners, ibadallah. It is proper and befitting for the one who is calling to identify themselves at the beginning of the call if you believe that the one who you're calling doesn't know who you are. And don't utilize these methods and these means and these horrible manners. It has come on the authority of Jabir ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, that he said, Ataytu Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I came to the Prophet alayhi salam, meaning at his home. I came to his house for doubt, and I summoned him. I was looking for him at his home, meaning I knocked upon his door. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet said, Man hadha, who is it? Who is at my door? Jabir said, so I said, Ana. I said, it's me. I said, it's me. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salam came out visibly upset, repeating, Ana. Ana. What do you mean it's me? What do you mean it's me? So this is a poor manner. It is poor etiquette, poor manners, ibadallah, to display this type of characteristic when calling someone. Similarly, from the etiquette of the cell phone that must be observed, that it is upon the caller not to have a bad thought about the one who he is calling if the person doesn't answer the phone. Don't think the person is ducking you. Don't think the person is avoiding you. Don't think the person doesn't like you. Don't have a bad thought if the person doesn't answer, or if they answer, but they're being brief and short with you on the phone. Don't have a bad thought about a person. Rather, you must take into consideration the conditions of the people. Because perhaps that person is sick. Or perhaps that person is in the masjid. Or perhaps that person is in the graveyard. Or perhaps that person is in the bathroom. Or perhaps that person is in some other situation wherein they're either not able to answer the phone, or they can answer, but they have to be brief with you. And if the individual doesn't answer or they're brief with you, don't have a bad thought about a person. Rather, look for an excuse for your brother. Likewise, ibadallah, what we must bear in mind when utilizing the cell phone is that the caller must bear in mind the appropriate times of calling the people or texting the people. Think about the situation of the people and don't overburden them by calling or texting at inappropriate times, especially calling them late night without it being an emergency or necessity. Rather, take into consideration times of rest, times wherein a person may be with his family, eating dinner, and the likes of that. And what we can connect to this, ibadallah, is to not add people to groups or to group chats or to broadcast messages without their permission. Do not do that, for it is from annoyance of the believers. It causes an annoyance to them when you add them to a group or you add them to a broadcast message, a broadcast chat, and they didn't seek that from you. Or you didn't seek their permission first before adding them. And then you start sending them 30, 40 benefits a day. I promise you they're not reading them. I promise you if you send a person 30 benefits a day, I promise you they're not reading them. But if you send a person a benefit every now and again, he's more likely to read that than he would be if you send a person 30, 40 benefits a day. So don't add a person to a group chat, or a broadcast message without first seeking that person's permission and asking if they mind being added to that group. Likewise, ibadallah, from the etiquette of the cell phone that must be observed is that the one who enters the house of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, the one who enters the masjid, should take care to turn off their notifications and turn off their rings. And don't disturb the worshippers of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And don't harm them. And don't disturb their prayer, breaking their khushu' in the salah. And if an individual happens to forget, because we all forget at times, if you happen to forget to turn off your ringer and turn off your notifications, and your phone begins to ring in the salah or in the masjid, then cut it off no matter what the situation may be. Cut the ringer off no matter what the situation may be. Meaning even if you're praying, you can cut the phone off. You can stop the ringer. And it doesn't disturb your prayer or harm the validity of your salah. And likewise, ibadallah, if you hear one of your brothers or one of your sisters who forgot to cut their ringer off and their phone begins to go off and disturb the people, then you are to make an excuse for them and you are to advise them with good manners and soft speech. Don't utilize a style that is off-putting. Don't utilize a style in your advice that is belittling of that Muslim because they forgot to turn their cell phone off. Rather, you can advise them with goodly words and kind speech. And our example in that is the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. He once saw something in the masjid that would disturb anybody and would upset and anger anybody. It has come on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiAllahu anhu that he said that a Bedouin stood up and urinated in the masjid. He stood up in the middle of the masjid and urinated on the floor. And so the people that were about to seize him and pounce upon him. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, leave him alone. Leave him alone. This was hikmah from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. Wisdom from him. Why? Because had they pounced upon him, urine would have been everywhere in the masjid. But leave him alone, so now the urine is in one place. It is in one place. Afterward, he said, pour water upon the place of urine. And he said to the people, فَإِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُمْ مُيَسِّرِينَ وَلَمْ تُبْعَثُوا مُعَسِّرِينَ. You have been sent, meaning the Muslims, the Ummah of Muhammad has been sent to make things easy for the people, to be kind and easygoing with the people. And you are not sent to be harsh and hard with them. So if you see something in the masjid, such as a person's ringtone, disturbing the people and the likes, and you have to say something, use the best manners possible. Be kind and gentle in your approach. Likewise, ibadallah, from the etiquette of the cell phone that must be observed is to stay distant from utilizing musical ringtones. Don't utilize music as your ringtone. It's haram. It contains haram. And likewise, it contains within that disturbance of the people in general. And the affair becomes even more repugnant if a musical ringtone goes off in the house of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. You're in the house of Allah Azza wa Jalla and you hear the latest rapper, whatever his name may be. There's no doubt it's something ugly and repugnant. And likewise, ibadallah, what we must stay away from is men utilizing as their lock screen images of women, and women utilizing as their lock screen images of men. And likewise, we must stay away from what is impermissible, using the Quran as your ringtone, using the book of Allah, the Quran, as your ringtone, or using the adhan as your ringtone, because this is belittlement of the remembrance of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, belittlement of the Quran and the speech of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Likewise, from the etiquettes of the cell phone that we must observe, it is from those repugnant affairs, those affairs that are hideous and ugly, is that when an individual puts his speakerphone on to take a call in the presence of other people, unbeknownst to the one who you are talking to. This is something which must be warned against. We must stay away from this. And likewise, ibadallah, what you must stay away from is recording the speech of the people without their knowledge or without their permission, no matter what the situation may be. Because this is a type of khiyan, a type of deception of the individual who you're talking to. You put them on speakerphone for others to hear their speech, unbeknownst to them. Rather, this is something which we must stay away from. The ulama, they said that it is not permissible for a Muslim who takes care to be upon trustworthiness and uprightness, and he or she would hate deception for themselves, meaning they would hate to be deceived themselves, to record the speech of the people without the knowledge or permission of those people, no matter what the type of speech it may be. Likewise, ibadallah, it is not permissible for us to send around lewd and despicable messages, whether they are text messages that contain vile and vulgar speech, or send around vile and vulgar images, or vile and vulgar and inappropriate jokes that contain foul language and the likes, seeking to get a laugh out of something that is displeasing to Allah Ta'ala. This is impermissible. And all of that is from that which opposes the legislation of Allah Ta'ala, and it contradicts adab and good manners. And it contradicts as well gratitude for this favor of Allah Ta'ala, the favor of having a cell phone. Because from gratitude, ibadallah, is that you don't utilize the blessing of Allah Ta'ala to anger or disobey Him with. It is likewise not permissible to make tajassus, to spy upon the cell phones of other people, to spy upon the cell phones of other people, and thus look at their messages without their pleasure and without their permission. This also is considered to be khiyana and deception and deceptive behavior, looking to expose their secret affairs and to find out their secret affairs. It has come in a hadith that is authentically reported from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, "La tahassasu wa la tajassasu." Don't make tahassus, don't make tajassus. Reported by Bukhari and Muslim. The ulama, they said, "At-tahassus is al-istima' li hadith al-qawm," listening to the speech of the people while they dislike that. As for tajassus, it is searching for their secret affairs, searching for their private affairs. It has come on the authority of Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man istama'a ila hadith qawmin wa hum lahu karihun aw yafirruna minhu subba fi udhnihi al-anuk yawm al-qiyamah." He said, alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever listens to the speech of the people while they dislike that, and they take means to prevent that from occurring, they put a lock on their phone, a password, and the likes of this, or their device. So it's an indication that they dislike someone looking at their private affairs. Whoever listens to that anyway, subba fi udhnihi al-anuk, he will have hot molten lead that is heated with the heat of the hellfire poured into his ear on the day of judgment. Likewise, from the etiquette of the cell phone, we must avoid al-inshighal bil-hatifa. You avoid busying yourself and being distracted with the cell phone while driving. How many accidents are caused every year by a negligent driver due to him looking inside of his cell phone while he's driving and spilling the blood of the people while he's driving? You're looking at his cell phone, tweeting some tweet out, or looking at Facebook and Instagram, or texting someone, and the likes of that. Allah Ta'ala said within his book, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى تُحْلَكَ. Don't toss yourselves into destruction by way of your own hands. You will know the reality of this affair, ibadallah, if you ever had to wash a body of someone who died in a car accident, and their bones are sticking out through their skin, or you have to hold their head onto their body while you're washing them. You will know the reality of this affair, ibadallah. Be mindful while you're driving your vehicles, and don't text and drive. Don't play with your phone and fiddle with your phone while you're driving. Have some type of phone mount where you can put your phone up in the dashboard and look at it if you need to look at the GPS and the likes of that. Have earbuds, have a Bluetooth or something, so you don't have to fiddle with your phone while you're driving. But this is from those etiquettes that contradict, or from those affairs that contradict the legislated manners. This cell phone, ibadallah, just as some of the goodly people use it as means of goodness, likewise some others, the people of corruption, use it to cause corruption and evil and to spread evil throughout the earth. So you find some utilizing the cell phone to do drug deals and the likes, or to spread bid'ah and misguidance upon their cell phones. And all of this is from the greatest means of spreading evil in the earth. And Allah Ta'ala has threatened those who do so. It has come on the authority of Anas ibn Malik that he said, the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, he said, "Ayyuma da'in da'a ila dalalah fatubi'a." Whoever individual calls people to misguidance, he calls to misguidance, and thus he is followed in that. He sends out a message of misguidance, of bid'ah, innovation, or something which is unverified, and he sends it out. A hadith that he has not verified ends up being a lie upon the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam. And he sends it out, and he's followed in that. فَإِنَّ لَهُ مِثْلَ أَوْزَارِ مَنْ تَبَعَهُ. He will have similar to the sins of whoever follows him in that. and he will not decrease from their sins in the least. May Allah Ta'ala protect us all. أقول ما سمعتم واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين نبينا وإمامنا محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وبعد. عباد Allah, indeed from the evil usages of this cell phone, those affairs of corruption and evil, is that what some of those sick and depraved people do, those evil individuals do, from seeking to expose the people on public forums and platforms, speaking about their private affairs and the likes of this, spreading affairs of sin and evil, exposing the awrat and the secret affairs of the people and their defects as if they don't have defects themselves, as if they don't have secrets themselves that can be exposed. How often do you find a young lady who we know to be upon goodness, somebody exposed her evil and exposed her sins in a public forum? Or an individual, a man or a male who we know to be upon goodness, and yet he is exposed upon a public forum for some private affair that was between him and his Lord. Spreading the people's affairs and gossiping and tale-carrying upon public forums and the likes of this are from the evil usages of the cell phone. It has come on the authority of Ibn Umar that he said, the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam ascended a member on one occasion, and he called out with a loud voice and he said, Ya ma'ashara man aslama bilisani walam yafut al-imanu ila qalbihi. He said, oh, you who have believed, who have entered into Islam with their tongues, but Iman has not permeated his heart. Do not harm the Muslims, and don't seek out their faults and their shortcomings, and don't shame them. For whoever seeks out the faults and the shortcomings of his brother Muslim, then Allah will seek out his faults and his shortcomings. And whoever Allah seeks out his faults and his shortcomings, Allah will expose that person, even in the depths of his or her home. The ulama, they say, meaning that those private affairs, your family don't even know that you do. You seek out the faults and the shortcomings of the people, Allah will expose that your wife don't even know that you do. Your kids don't even know that you do. Your husband is unaware of it. Allah will expose it amongst the people due to you chasing after the faults and shortcomings of the people. Ibn Umar, after narrating this hadith, he looked towards the sacred house of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, Al-Kaaba. He said, as sacred as you are, as sacred as the house of Allah Ta'ala, the Kaaba is, as sacred as you are, the believer is more sacred than you in the sight of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala said within his book, Inna ladhina yuhibbuna an tashi'a al-fahishatu fil ladhina amanu lahum adhabun alimun fid dunya wal akhirah. Indeed, those who love that lewdness and despicable actions and affairs of scandal should be spread amongst those who believe. Those who like gossip and tale-carrying about scandalous things, then for them, they shall have a painful punishment in this life as well as the hereafter. They will be punished in this life before they even get to the hereafter and get another punishment then. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows and you don't know. Let us be mindful of this ibadallah and don't take lightly our sins. Don't take lightly our shortcomings or those things that we do upon our phones. As Bilal ibn Sa'di said, do not look at the sigar al-khati'ah. Don't look at the smallness of a sin. Don't look at the fact that a sin may be small, but rather look at the greatness of the one that you're disobeying. Look at the greatness of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and bear that in mind. And I challenge all of you and I challenge myself as well. With the entrance of the month of Ramadan, let us not busy ourselves with our cell phones. Let us put the phones down and only pick them up for a benefit. Only pick them up for a religious benefit. Perhaps you are joining the ties of the womb. You are checking on your parents. You are checking on your children. Checking on a friend. Let us not spend long hours out of our day wasting our time upon these phones. Let us challenge ourselves in this blessed month of Ramadan so that we can get the most out of this month and put our phones down, only picking them up to benefit ourselves in this life or in the hereafter. I challenge you and I challenge myself with this throughout the entirety of this month. May Allah Ta'ala allow us to reach the month of Ramadan. May Allah Ta'ala accept from us our fasting and our standing in prayer. May Allah Ta'ala accept from us all of our good deeds. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. آخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. وقوموا لصلاتكم.